Hi Taurus, welcome to a mid-September 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. I'm using the Light Seer Tarot deck. And I hope everybody is doing well. That card is perfect for so many reasons that I will mention, or one specific reason I should say. Let me just go like that. There we go. Sorry for the brief obscuring of the lens. Okay, there we go. There we go. The heart of the matter is the Fool. And this is what a neat depiction. Now that looks like the flower of life itself. That's like kind of an energy grid or something coming up from there. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the Rider-Waite, Pamela Coleman Smith depiction with the Fool, the person walking, facing the cliff, but looking up at the sky. So this is kind of like a riff on that, which is one of the reasons I bought the deck, is I wanted something like that. But look at those colors. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, now this might be a little bit more, you can see better. The Fool card is a card, and the yellow is in the background in the Rider-Waite deck. So yellow is number of happiness and this card is associated with adventure and new beginnings and things like that. So this reading is going to be going into the mid of the month, and on the 17th of the month we have a new moon in Virgo, and that falls in your 5th house of fun, pleasure, love, creativity. Uranus is a card connected to the Fool card, and Uranus is in Taurus, and this is making Taurians more adventurous and so doing things that they normally wouldn't do. So I don't know if the new moon is featured in this, if you're taking a chance on something and going in a new direction. Maybe for some Taurians this has to do with a person of interest to you romantically, that if you have been divorced or widowed, you may have kind of written off love, and then somebody has come along and you're willing to give it a chance, even though normally you would stubbornly cling to your previous opinions. But this is just a card in general. This is a 0 card, the first card of absolutely new beginnings. And so whatever area this seems like it makes sense for you in, the fact that Uranus is in your sign kind of enhances what this card represents, of the unpredictable, that which maybe you haven't done before, taking the road less traveled, for instance. In the past position we have the Two of Swords. This is a pretty gruesome version of the Two of Swords. I don't know why they had to make it that disturbing. The Two of Swords, it's kind of like being pulled in different directions. I do think that the crows, or whatever these black birds are, represent the shadow, the part of us that is, full of fears of the unknown. And this may have been kind of what you were dealing with, where you were like, I don't know if I should do X, Y, or Z. Maybe there were just two particular things. Stay at this job, leave this job. Stay in this relationship, leave this relationship. And if that was the case, you're choosing the freedom. And with the Fool card being 0, it's like an unknown quantity. You don't know what is going to happen as a result of your choice. You don't have any guarantees that everything is just going to fall neatly into place, but you kind of are up for the adventure of like, what is going to happen? How is this going to end? Is this going to work out? Because Taurians usually like things to be comfy and cozy, and not necessarily being on the edge. That's not something that Taurus wants to do. Having things be unpredictable, that's just not your thing. So if that is something that you have dealt with in the past, you may be wanting, if you have a tendency to be more wanting kind of life to be really mellow and predictable, and predictable doesn't feel like a dirty word to you, then now you might be kind of feeling a little bit different. And with the Two of Swords, you might have gone through quite a lot to get to this point. So it's not like you're just taking chances for no reason. There might be a very good reason why you have felt like you had to go there. The higher message is the Tower card. And this is a card of, this is another card where they have, it's not as dark as the other tarot. I'm trying to think if this is dark or not. There's like a little squirrel. The nuts are kind of there, and the butterfly. But you see the lightning strike. Lightning strike represents kind of the unpredictability that the Tower card represents of something that collapses, a structure that collapses. Now, I think what this is saying is that when people are afraid to make choices, are afraid to change, that the universe will do that for them regardless. So it's actually better to take the initiative in this sense, because if you don't, if you try to sweep things under the rug and hope that everything is going to just work out, what often happens is that there is a calamity, but it's even more so because you have no part in it. You haven't tried to stop it. I mean, you haven't tried to improve the situation on your end. You've just tried to ignore it, and then it just is kind of uncontrollable and doesn't have any. There's no way to kind of control it from that end. So when you take the initiative in your life, you're always going to have some say in it. And you also feel more in control of your life. Also, I feel like if this was a personal relationship issue and you left a situation that you were not happy in, but you were afraid of the unknown, especially if you had been with somebody for a very long time, the Tower card can be about love at first sight, kind of like a sudden thing. Part of the reason you may have been reluctant to go out on your own is because you felt like, I may be alone forever. And especially if you're not what we would consider young. And the truth is that, people find love at all ages. It's not just when, people in their 20s. And it can find you, love can find you anywhere in the most unusual circumstances. And there can be that instantaneous knowing that you have met the right person. So it's really up to you to, it's kind of like they say nature abhors a vacuum, and you're kind of making yourself available when, as the Fool card of like, kind of like starting anew, you're making yourself available for love instead of being in a relationship with somebody that you really don't vibe with anymore. But, same thing applies to a, work situation. It reminds me so much of my partner who worked for several years doing delivery, for a bank. And he didn't like the job. He just didn't like that type of work. And he ended up quitting after a few years being there. And he, there were a couple of people there. Actually, a lot of people were his friends that worked there. And his, people that he was part of his social circle. And they were like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? How can you quit this? Because they were really attached to this idea of having this 9-to-5 job that was very secure and safe. And the idea that, whether you're happy, whether you're miserable, had no bearing on whether or not you should keep that job. It's just like, are you crazy? This is, a cushy job or what have you. And he didn't want to do it. And so they just couldn't, they were shaking their heads. They couldn't understand it. And I don't know how long after that, I think one of the things he said was, you never know if the bank, is going to get sold out, because this was in the 90s, and that was when it seemed like it started getting really bad with that, where banks were failing, and then another bank would take them over and all this stuff. And sure enough, that's what happened to those people, is that, and some of them, to add insult to injury, had to train the people that were taking their jobs. I mean, this is what they do. So that is a Tower moment, when you have to train somebody else, and that shakes you out of that complacency. But at what cost? And being able to see that ahead of time and saying, there is no guarantee. There are no guarantees. There's no such thing as security. That's all an illusion. And that's okay. That's what makes life more interesting, because if everything was all, easy to predict, then there would be no growth. There would be everybody would be kind of like resting on their laurels, so to speak. What crosses you is the Justice card. I think this might be the first time I've gotten this card. Again, I love that background, that color. That's like one of my colors. Kind of like a green, sea green, a turquoise. And the scales of justice, balance, and fairness. And, sometimes the catalyst for moving on from a job or from a relationship is betrayal, or a sense of being treated in an unfair way in some way. And yet that doesn't mean that even if the person does decide to leave, that they don't still feel that sense of, when are they going to get theirs? That feeling of, why did I have to leave this situation that I like because somebody did me wrong? Why do I have to suffer for this and be the one? And again, it's all about growth. It's all about expansion. And the key is not to harbor resentments. I had an experience like that, and I have Taurus rising. I had an experience like that in the past, and just feeling like so much unfairness. And I have never experienced anything like that, and feeling forced out of a job. And one of the things, and it took years to really heal from that, even when the people that were involved were no longer working at that place, it didn't resolve it for me. As a matter of fact, it actually prolonged it, because I realized that it wasn't about that. What had happened was the problem. Nothing, no kind of like so-called karmic comeuppance really can erase what was done to you or what was done to me. And then when I really thought about it more, I realized that it was there to get me out of my comfort zone. I guess that's what I'm thinking of with the Tower card, getting you out of that comfort zone that you love so much. And understanding that something may not seem fair, but you don't have to get caught up in that seemingly unfair situation. You can rise above it, Taurus, and proceed in your life and not get caught up in a rut. What's coming in is the Queen of Cups. You see that this is a very spiritually based, intuitive card. And the Queen of Cups is a card of the psychic, the artist. What has she got there? Yeah, she's got it. Because she's got her crown, but it's kind of like levitating above her head, which is showing her high vibe. So that suggests to me that you're moving in a direction that is more connected to the spiritual, whether it's the type of work that you're doing, whether you are choosing to view a situation that has occurred in a more philosophical or spiritual way. But this is really a psychically connected card, connecting to your higher self, connecting to something beyond the physical, metaphysical influence. And you are a physical sign, being that. And then we have the Outcome card, Queen of Swords. And this is a card of detachment, kind of compassionate detachment. So this is an important ending, because it's kind of what I was talking about with the Justice card, the sword. So unless there's a Libra person, especially of all the swords, the other swords are Aquarius and Gemini. But this is all about making peace with something that has happened, so that you're not left resenting it and questioning your, kind of like second guessing your decisions. You may feel like you have to do something, make a decision, but on the one hand, it may feel like it's so hard to do it because your emotions tend to get activated. The Queen represents the water element, and that's the emotions, and the swords are the air, so it's the head versus the heart. And the head has to take charge, so that the nostalgia of a situation doesn't pull you back in and keep you stuck. The Fool card is the first card of the deck. It's about a new journey, but you can't really engage in a new journey if you still have unfinished business. The Fool, this card doesn't show the knapsack, but I don't think she does. She does have something. She's holding something. It's funny, she's got an amethyst crystal for some reason. Oh, because of Uranus, Aquarius. But, you know, yeah, so maybe it's that, again, that era energy of detachment, not allowing your emotions to get the best of you as you navigate a new life path. Okay, Taurus, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this and you resonated with it. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. I have the whole enchilada. If you want a natal chart interpretation plus a tarot, full-length tarot reading, full-length natal chart interpretation for a deep discount, there is a link to my online store with that reading and other types of readings. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.